address. Over to you, CA Ravi.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Simpaji. Respected Chief Guest, Mr. Yasser Al-Khalwani, Chief Guest of Honor, CA Uttam Prakash Agrawal ji, Guest Speaker Saurabh Goenka ji, leaders and members. I am pleased to welcome you all for today's event on using RPA to modernize and transform finance profession. It is utmost important for the finance profession to learn and expertise in ABCD of technology. They are artificial intelligence, blockchain, cybersecurity, and data. Automation tools, including robotic process automation, have also been widely adopted. As per the findings from one of the report of automation in finance function, which is a summary of the lessons from the renowned finance professionals about the digital transformation and what underpin successful changes. The key highlights around the impact of automation showed that automation is the essential for accountants. Automation is often highly targeted. Automation has big impact on people. It is inevitable that technology will continue to change, which is in turn will change the technology, skill needed, but an individual's attitude, willingness to learn is more important. Before I conclude, I wish to make few announcements and updates on the chapter's activity. Next week, we are having a Omani CFO meet on 25th of September 2021 with a panel discussion on current economic conditions and the future. We have recently had an exam conducted and we congratulate the students of our members who have successfully cleared the recent ICA examinations and the Commerce Visa test we are held by the ICA. We will felicitate those students in our upcoming event jointly with the Indian School Board on 8th of October 2021. We are planning to have international conference under the virtual format in the month of November. We are working hard towards it with a state-of-art technology and more user-friendly experience, more networking opportunities for the members and the sponsors. ICA is excited to host the World Congress of Accountants in Mumbai on 22nd and 23rd of November. ICA Muscat chapter urges all members to get the full benefit of this opportunity and support with the sponsorship, nominating delegates for the event. At last, I urge all your support in the form of corporate sponsorship and renew your membership to enable us to achieve our desired target of 400 plus members of the ICA Muscat chapter. Once again, I welcome you all for today's event and happy learning. Over to you, Sipaji.
Thank you, Raviji. May I now request CA Jim Josephity, our secretary, to please introduce and welcome our esteemed chief guest, Mr. Yasser Al-Khalwani. Over to you, CA Jim.
Thank you, Shilpaji. Salam alaikum, Mr. Yasser. It's my privilege to introduce Mr. Yasser. He is the Director of Finance of the Ministry of Technology and Communication, Sultanate of Oman. He's bringing 17 years of experience in various fields, including accounting, finance, procurement, purchase, tendering, and all the related areas. He's a graduate from Sultan Qaboos University, and he also holds a master's in business administration. On behalf of all gathered here, I welcome Mr. Yasser to address the gathering. Please, sir.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, everybody, and good morning to you. And thank you for this opportunity to allow me to see you and we gather in this important event. Thank you for this introduction. My name is Yasser Al-Khalwani, and also I work in finance and accounting and in other administration and HR and contract sections. Actually, I'm very glad when Mr. approached me for this opportunity to discuss about the automation and robotic automation of process in finance and in accounting. First of all, I would like to say that this important topic is the future in all aspects of functions. For the finance and accounting, it's sometimes it's like second stage in comparing to marketing and advertising, like in the Facebook, in the Google, since they have this huge data. To elaborate and explain the robotic automation process, I will give maybe one example, if you allowed me, in our organization. The automation of sending the payment to our banks. Internally, we have an ERP system which processes our payments, AP, account receivables, fixed assets, and payroll. And as you know, all of you may be aware more than me that accounting and finance, they have much process, like routine process, repetitive process, which sometimes take a lot of time and efforts to process those things. Once those process get automated, it will save a lot of times and efforts and cost. So we coordinated with our banks. We link ERP to our banks to process the daily payments. Normally, we print it out, we sign it, then we send the driver to the bank, stamp the copies, and return. You can imagine how the process it will take to finalize those repetitive. It is the same process every day. And also there is a data cut off, like after 12, you cannot send, the driver is not there. This project allow about 2 years from security side, it is B2B connections. I'm giving you this example to just emphasize the importance of the process automation in accounting and in finance, as this topic, and Mr. Suber will explain more and elaborate more in these topics. Once this implemented now, every day, the payment is sent automatically to the banks. The notification from the bank is getting automatically. Once reach the system of the bank, we get a notification that the payment is received. No need for driver, no need for copy, no need for stamps. More time of the employees, accountant are saved now. They can use this time to other critical things, to solve problem, to follow up with suppliers, with customer, with invoices. We have saved about maybe each day 2 hours of the employee time. This is in terms of time. In terms of cost, there is a saving about maybe, I can say 20,000 each month in terms of the cars, drivers, the time consumes, the other things. Minimizing the errors. Duplicate payments are minimized because now the payment is linked and integrated directly to the invoicing system and the approval. So the errors get minimized, like if I can say like from 10% to 5% or less. This is in terms of the time saving, cost, and also the employees feel like they are given more tasks which are adding value. All tasks are very important, but I can say if you give the employees an accountant more time to other things, critical thinking, analysis, they will feel like their morale are improved. This is just brief, an introduction, but during the event, the more explanation will be given by our event speaker, Suber, and inshallah, wish you all the best and thank you. If you have anything, please let me know.
Thank you so much for your words. It is really the amount. So I was just thinking in the COVID world, because you had this automation, how much easier things would have been for you all to operate.
Yes. Last year, everybody was at home.
Yeah, that's what.
But alhamdulillah, nothing it disrupted the operation, the process of invoices, everything went smoothly, alhamdulillah, because of this process automation. Everybody can approve from his location.
So it maybe automation has its pros and cons, but the pros are definitely weighing much higher.
Yes, there is pros and cons, and one of the cons is security issues, like because you are integrating anything happen to the system, so all transaction will be affected. If there is any error, any bug in the system, like one day will be everything will be stopped. But overall, there is no way out. Only we need to automate the process, especially those processes which are happening like every day and repetitive every day. This need to be at the best to be automated.
Thank you so much for your views and your experiences. We look forward that you are there with us throughout the session so that you can put your inputs, and we have someone who has experienced the automation and someone who is going to teach us automation. So we have the right combination with us here today.
Actually, I would like to thank you very much for this invitation and this Institute for Chartered Accountant in India, Muscat chapter. Because really, I know this, I practice it every day, but the term actually is new for me. So I would like to thank you very much to give me this chance and knowledge. And I can explore more through the event and listening to our honored speaker.
We are honored by your presence, sir. Thank you so much. Moving on. May I now request our committee member, CA Gaurav Kapoor, to introduce and welcome our valued guest of honor, the ICAI past chairperson, CA Uttam Prakash Agarwal. Over to you, CA Gaurav.
Good morning, everyone. And I have been given, and thanks for giving this privilege to introduce CA Uttam Prakash ji. He holds the degrees from a number of institutes, not only in the Indian Institute of Chartered Accountants, but also from CPA Australia as well. CA Uttam Prakash Agarwal has always strived to excel and endeavor to reach the pinnacle of the professional growth, due to which he was rewarded by the President of India, Her Excellency Shrimati Pratibha Patil ji, with recognition of Excellence Award. CA Uttam has been the president of our institute from the year 2009-2010. I think the key, what I would also like to highlight, which he just told us before the event, is the CA that we use before our name was initiated by him, and made sure that we have this in front of our names. Personally, as well as I think everyone here and globally is honored to have that initials before your name. CA Uttam ji, screen is yours.
Good morning. Salam alaikum, our respected guests from Oman, Mr. Yasir Ali Kalbani, Finance Director, Ministry of Technology, our leader of the profession, heading the flag of our country, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India profession, which is the second largest in the world. It is only honorable chief guest. It is honorable because of the numbers we are second, but in terms of the quality, in terms of the hard working of the profession, we are number one. So, and particularly, I'm great having an honor to be part of this program. because this only the Muscat chapter, which I was not able to attend when I was the president. And when our honorable chief guest is there, Mr. Yasir Ali, I would like to request you today, before you came, we were discussing one very important item and the agenda, which is a very, very big value addition to your country, where we Indian chartered accountant and the student of chartered accountant can contribute, because in Dubai in 2009-10, the auditing process of UAE was taken over by our Indian aspiring chartered accountant student. So I will request our chairman, CA Ravi Devraji and Silpaji, Sangeeta ji, Saurabh ji, Gaurav ji, Mr. Jim, Unmesh, Sanjeev ji, Dikan, all your team. You people are working for our Indian accounting professor. Go and meet Mr. Yasir, because I have heard him. He's a very positive people. And still they are not aware, the leader of the country, that what we are. So with the folded hand, I will request each one of you have a cup of tea with Mr. Yasir and explain how we all people are serving the whole world, not only the UAE. Whether we have, sir, number of MRA we have entered into. So England and Wales, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, almost today we have a 38 chapter across the globe, more than that. And we have signed various MOU. I am just diverting from the topic because this discussion can be taken place by my speaker. But as a former leader of the professor, wherever I get the opportunity to have an interaction with the people like you, I would like to request that see the potential of Indian chartered accountant, aspiring student, which is a great value addition. They will become the partner in the national building of your country. So they will come and have a cup of tea with you and explain what type of chartered accountant we are producing from ICI. Friends, it's a great honor for me to be participate in this program. Topic selected today is very, very important after the post-COVID-19. Let me tell you that when I was the chairman of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Western region in 2000, my slogan, which I took, is towards technology trillium in 2000. When I met one of the students in the Western India Regional Council library, and when I had interaction, I came to know that the future younger generation of my chartered accountancy profession will be depending totally on the technology. Today, I am happy that we are discussing this particular topic where the finance is a very important part for any organization, it's a country, anywhere without finance, that is a heart. And where the role of a chartered accountant and role of the finance people through the technology is recognized and considered. I will not, because time is not there, and our speaker is already there, Saurabh. He will take you to the pro and cons about this. And for every good thing, there has to be a con. Bad thing ka kuch bhi nahi hota. Right? And now I remember the way always you think the pro and con. As a leader of the profession, 2009, when XBRL was introduced, I was the first person across the globe to take the objection. Because when it was said that the financial reporting will be done through the machine, through the tool of XBRL, I thought what my chartered accountant to whom I am producing, they will do when the machine will be there. But when it was explained to me, and when I understood what will be the importance of chartered account, it will be more, because any complicated thing comes into the existence, only the chartered accountants are there who can take over that responsibility and resolve. And today we have proved that in India by implementation of XBRL, right? Number of chartered accountants got the opportunity, along with the CA, the company secretary also got the opportunity. I will not go much in detail for the subject. Last week, when one of the robotic, because earlier it started with the manufacturing or with the industry point of view. Because suppose I have the cement industry, so I have any plastic industry, all systems are the same. So I can tell the machine, But the role of a chartered accountant will never be the same. Let the people talk about robotic, it will help in the finance. And you know how many people are aware, I don't know. I do not know how to operate the computer. But you all will be laughing on me what proud Uttamji is taking this saying. But let me tell you, I have not seen any chartered accountant when I was a part of as a student, that my senior chartered accountant who were expert advisor, they were sitting on the typing or something. What we are not just like machine or something. When we produce a chartered accountant, it is not an intention to sit for 10 hours, 12 hours on the machine or something to deliver something. We are the advisor. We are the business solution provider. And there any technology come. Because technology requires the changes. Right? Every 6 months something new comes. But you all remember my grandfather to grandfather. The treatment of the mobile, it always shown in the balance sheet asset side, not changed till today. My father, myself, my daughter children. All treatment of the same, it will be taken as a cost, then depreciation, 3 methods are there, if the revaluations are there. That system, without even using the technology, we have been given trained with the concept. So my young generation, wherever new thing comes, they keep calling us, sir, what will be role of a chartered accountant? Because I see a lot of young chartered accountant face here. Let me tell you, anything comes on this earth, role of chartered accountant cannot be restricted or reduced at all. That is the beauty of this profession. You all will agree there is a lot of changes come to the architectures. There is a lot of changes has come in the engineering. Lot of changes have come in the medical science. Everywhere there is a changes, but we have the same thing what have been taught 100 years back, just only in the name of accounting standard. It's a IFRS, it's a Ind AS. Take the audit, it's an internal audit, it's a statutory audit, it's a forensic audit. If I do the first stage, the proper audit of 100 vouchers, I don't need to have the forensic audit. You got my point. So these are all marketing thing what we have been given because we have to survive by bringing a lot of changes. Ultimately, debit and credit. Finance, balance sheet has to tally that. So our concept we have been given, I think that any robotic or any artificial intelligence or say data analysis, you talk, because I keep listening. And because of the WhatsApp and all, a lot of technology people, they keep giving some input and all these things. And I know when I was a president, a lot of IT people used to come. Sir, if you take this software or this technology, you will be able to give a better service to the student and members. Let me tell you, as a practical example, I had a VIP project implemented with the support of Infosys, where I wanted to give instant disposal of any work of my member student. We totally fail. And ultimately, we have to go to the manually with the concept. And latest example in India is a faceless assessment, is filing of the returns. Right? What people are filing or what they are getting on the acknowledgement, again, the Infosys. So this particular, the topic which we are discussing, it is good for the manufacturing, for the industry. Professional, of course, it is a reducing the cost. It is a helping in a short time period, wherever we have some common thing where we can really use. But talking about the purchasing, sales invoices, linking with the inventory and all these things will not unless and until you as a chartered accountant apply your mind. Otherwise, again, NPA is a big problem. You have seen 4 days back, Nirmala Sitharaman came with the, I'm cleaning of the 5 lakh crore NPA of the bank. Technology is there for last so many years. Systems are already there. Why is it built up so much NPA? We are, because of technology, in the name of technology, we are becoming so much dependent. that what resource we have, we are not able to implement. Now, when we used to study, we used to have only the ICI material of 10 pages or 20 pages, each chapter. But today, all students have so many pen drives, so many tutor has come up to guide them. They are creating confusion to the student, and therefore, they are not able to pass and abuse my Chartered Accountant Institute. So, friend, time is very limited. I have a lot of things to share with you because a lot of wrong perception has been created to my young student and young Chartered Accountant that we are not good, or there will be a problem in the future. I travel 38 countries as a president. I signed so many MOU. With the proud, I can say the Indian Chartered Accountant will be the best among the world, not today, forever. Wish you all the best. Have a very good day, very good learning on this topic. And I'm sure that whenever I have a chance to travel this side, I'll come and have an interaction for 2 hours, 3 hours with each member. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It's honor.
Thank you, sir. Uttamji, just want to update members that we are working closely with the help of the embassy and with the Ministry of Higher Education and Ministry of Labor, who are working towards this particular project of getting CA students recognized as for the articleship as well as the recognition of the CA's provision. So we are working towards it, and we are doing some steps, and Institute is also helping us. So we are in process, and we'll update you the progress, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, CA Uttamji. It was very inspiring to hear from you. Your passion towards the profession is so infectious. Whether we go for a coffee or not with Mr. Yasser, we definitely going to have a coffee with you soon to hear more from you. And very proud and very happy that you're here with us today. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now we need to move to the main program for which we've been here. We're waiting to hear from CA Saurabh Goenka. So now may I request our committee member, CA Unmesh Bhome, to introduce and welcome our esteemed speaker, CA Saurabh Goenka. Over to you, CA Unmesh.
Thank you, CA Shilpa ji. It's an honor to introduce CA Saurabh Goenka ji. He's a chartered accountant and a digital transformation professional with more than a decade's experience in process automation, process improvement, digital transformation, and strategic leadership, who is seen as an influencer in the finance transformation space. Co-founded by him, MindMap Digital, recently awarded amongst the top 10 RPA solutions providers in India, is a bridge between ideas and solutions for all who carry the vision of adopting digital and scaling processes to be truly ready for a global digital economy. CA Saurabh has also created a very large digital skilling academy in the form of MindMap Learning, and is working on an EdTech platform to give access to world-class, affordable, and job-oriented digital skilling ecosystem to at least 1 million users by the year 2022. He is also working on incubating an accounting and compliance management SaaS-based product for SMBs and MSMEs to hyper-automate back-office processes. It's a privilege to have you, CA Saurabh here, and the stage is yours, sir.
Thank you so much, Unmesh, for those kind words. And at the very outset, my deepest gratitude to the entire Muscat chapter for inviting me here. CA Uttam Agarwal ji, you are one of the finest past presidents, and without a dispute, some of the biggest reforms which the CA community has seen. You are one of them to institutionalize it. I belong from a CA family. My father also speaks very, very highly of you. Mr. Yasser, it's an absolute honor to have you here today, and it was very inspiring to hear that you've actually implemented some of the RPA journey within your entire world also. So thank you so much. Without further ado, let me just start sharing my screen. And I'm just going to request someone to validate in case my screen is visible.
See that? Yes, we can see that, Mr. Sir.
Excellent. Great. Perfect. So, in terms of the entire structure of the webinar, of course, I will not spend further time introducing myself. The very first thing which we want to do today is I'm first going to talk a little bit about what is this entire world of digital transformation. All of a sudden you keep hearing, as CA Uttam sir was also saying, that everything is becoming digital and artificial intelligence, and there are so many jargons out there: machine learning, AI, RPA, so on and so forth, right? How is it really transforming the world at large? And specifically, all of us being from finance, how is it going to change the way we do our things, right? And then we'll move right on into this technology, which is known as RPA. RPA stands for Robotics Process Automation. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what this technology is. I will show you examples of real RPA bots in action, and you will see processes being automated in real time. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about, how can you select your first automation project, right? Every single one of us who are here on the meeting today, the agenda is that you should take as much of it back with you. And by the end of today's session, it should just not remain a concept in your head, but it should become something which can be actioned by you and you can take some steps there, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how can you select your first RPA project and navigate that. Then, of course, I'm going to talk, in terms of which are those areas where RPA is happening today in the world of finance and accounting. And I'm going to give you a heat map, which gives you all different functions of finance and which of those processes are typically easier automated and which one of them are, difficult. And then towards the end, we'll share some mind space and thoughts in terms of, where are we headed towards, right? Is it that the whole CA profession is going to evolve, and what is the finance of the future? And, as part of this entire process, I know that participants, you're going to be muted. However, I encourage you to drop in your questions at any given point of time. Of course, we will have some time towards the end, but that being said, please feel free to pop in your comments in the chat window, give your questions in the Q&A, and I'm going to take a pause every now and then to look at your questions and then, answer those, because again, the intention is, it's a small group of CAs which we have here today. And then we want it to be as useful to you as possible. So whatever questions you have, whatever, areas you want to know more about, please go ahead and talk about it, and I will definitely address them. That being said, I typically like to open up with a pretty bold statement. The statement says the world is changing and intelligence is leading that change, right? Now, the world has pretty much always changed. It's never really remained constant. Right from the Stone Ages to if you, for example, look at the world 20 years back, it was completely different. Today, even forget 20 years, 2 years back, the world was a different place. Where we are today is extremely, different. But there are two distinguishing factors with the change which is happening right now. One, everything is becoming extremely data centric, and there's a reason why it is becoming data centric, and I'm going to come to that in a little bit, right? So what's really happening is that intelligence is leading that change. Processes are moving away from mechanized processes to automated processes. Economies are moving towards things like digital currencies. You're seeing this huge wave of digital, and the pace of that technological change is massive, right? But it's very important for us to understand this pace of technological change. And I'm just going to spend a couple of more minutes on that, right? Now, if we were to plot a timeline of technological change or timeline of global socioeconomic change, right from the 1400s to say 2050, and if we were to plot a curve, that curve is going to look something like this, right? Where for the first few years, technology has really progressed in kind of a semi-linear fashion, where you have the technology progressing like this. And then after a point of time, somewhere in the 1900s, something happened. And now you've got like this rocket ship of technology propelling upwards, and the pace at which new things are coming out, it is phenomenal, right? The first three most important inventions for the history of mankind, right from the 1400s, they were undisputedly the printing press, the telescope, and the steam engine, right? Now, let me just contextualize this a little bit more. First point is that it took about 350 years to get us from the printing press to the steam engine, right? So you must have heard about these this term called the Industrial Revolution. I remember I read that in my history books. But, Industrial Revolution is not just one industrial revolution. There are 4 industrial revolutions that have taken place. Right now, some of you would have heard that we are in this whole era, which is known as Industry 4.0, right? And that Industry 4.0 basically has its roots back here, where this was the place when some of these major inventions happened. Now, printing press was a major invention because, let's just think about it like this, right? Before the printing press, people were writing newspapers and books by hand. But once the printing press comes into picture, will you still continue to write books by hand? The answer is no, right? Similarly, once you have a steam engine invented, will people still travel from one country to another country on horseback carriages? The answer is no, because you have a far more efficient technology. That was the first block of big change. The second block of big change came much sooner. And in the next 100 years, you had the invention of the light bulb and the telephone, right? Now, again, once you have electricity, you're not going to put candles in your chandeliers to light up your entire house. That thing completely changes. And after that, the third industry, and this is the industrial revolution, which we mostly hear about in our textbooks, right? The third industrial revolution over a slightly shorter period of time was the one which really affects all of us in a very, very massive way today. And the father of the god of all technologies, the computer, was born, right? You had the car, the television, and the PC. And right from that point of time onwards, and this, by the way, is the entire IT boom. Some of us, we still feel that, there is an IT boom going on, but the truth is the IT boom is far over. It came, it went, and now whoever is not transformed by IT, they don't exist. That's the reality of the world, right? We have seen so many examples of companies who fail to innovate and reach that. After that, in the next less than 50 years, you had these inventions like the mobile phone, the internet, the software industry, the microprocessor. And today, the real Industry 4.0, the digital era where we are, in less than about 20 years, you've got all of these things like Facebook, Google, analytics, artificial intelligence, driverless cars, augmented reality, virtual reality, automation. And then, we are headed towards this entire era of singularity. Singularity is the concept that it's a vision where a human and an artificial intelligence would be, at par with each other. And there are global investment funds who are investing, hundreds of millions of dollars in all of that. Now, my whole point, which I'm trying to make, is this. If you look at the pace of change, the pace at which new inventions are coming out, it has significantly gone up. And that is something which should get us thinking. If today we live in a world where you have bots like Sophia, and you've got so many advancements in technology where automation and AI has taken over processes, we really need to also think as chartered accountants that how much of this can actually get automated, as past president C. Uttam was also saying, and what would be our role as we get into it. And again, my view is very similar to his. I'm extremely bullish on the future of what we can do, and I'm going to share some examples right after that, right? But let's do something, let's stretch out this entire era of 1900s to 2050 a little bit more to understand what changed in the business world right now. As a business process evolves, you always aim towards lower cost and better efficiency, right? And in fact, our esteemed guest, Mr. Yasser, was also saying that they basically implemented RPA and automation so that they could operate even when you had a situation like COVID, and it did not really affect the processes. So whatever we do, it is aimed towards lower cost and better efficiency. Now, between the entire period of 1900s and 1950s, this is where business processes were just shaping up, right? And everybody focused on the core operations. If you had a manufacturing company, that manufacturing company would want to better its way of manufacturing, so on and so forth. And in this era, if you asked anybody that which company do you want to take up a job in, who do you want to join, which are the biggest companies in the world, the biggest companies in the world were always manufacturing companies, right? Everybody wanted to join a manufacturing company. Then came an era about after 1950s where companies really figured out that I now know how to manufacture and handle my processes well. And then came the entire era of IT transformation and IT management, where people realized, if I have to scale up my production, if I have to go cross geography, if I have to really grow, I need to put systems in place. I need to put IT systems in place. And that's where the entire IT industry was born, right? And we're still imagining a global economy where you have these third world countries and the fourth world countries and the first world countries. And mostly all of this transformation was happening in the first world countries right now. And then what the first world countries realized is that, hey, you know what? Now I have my process figured out. Now I have my IT figured out, but my cost is still too high. And that's when they decided that, you know what, let's outsource processes, right? And that's where the entire, India BPO industry was born. And the whole era of business process management and outsourcing was born. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we stand at an era, and I am at this vantage point because I'm fortunate enough to do a lot of business with Fortune 500 companies, and I have a good mind share of their CXOs. What they are saying is that, you know what, I don't need to be outsourcing work to India, Philippines, or China anymore, because today I have bots which I can implement and I can get those pieces of work automated, right? The whole need for the invention is actually fueled by the need where people realize that even after outsourcing, I still need to go towards little bit lower cost, little bit better efficiency. And that's where today we are in the world of your automated, cognitive, and intelligent processes. And to enable the entire ecosystem of this automated, cognitive, and intelligent processes, you have a bunch of technologies like RPA, machine learning, artificial intelligence, blockchain, IoT, AR, VR, etc., 3D printing. There are, a bunch of them out there. The reason I'm showing this journey to you is because, we keep thinking that digital is such a fad. It is something everybody keeps talking about. But what is very important for us to realize is that this is actually something which has evolved, just like a human consciousness evolved and a human species evolved. It's the need. People and the world have already reached here, and they need to, reach here to make the next move, right? So that puts us into context with where we are right now. And now I want to blow this piece a little bit up more, and I want to tell you how is this transformation really affecting finance. And I want to talk to you about, what are the expectations which I have seen global CFOs have from finance teams of today, right? Is when I say finance, I'm talking about finance as a community. That community involves auditors, consultants, internal finance teams, FP&A, controllership, treasury, and all of these functions, right? First, CFOs want more than 90% automation of transactional finance and accounting, right? Now, what is the meaning of transactional finance and accounting? Very similar to what Mr. Yasser said brilliantly in his opening remarks. Things like automating the daily bank position settlement, automating invoice processing, basically anything in the world of procure to pay, order to cash, and record to report, which is extremely transaction volume driven. Things like processing invoices, reconciling your books of accounts. Those are the things which are known as transactional F&A. They want more than 90% of that to be automated. Second, people now today want more analytics and visual dashboard than data. The day is over where we used to send all of these, long MIS reports and Excel files and all of that. Today, everything is very intuitive. I'm working on solutions with some IT companies where the CFOs want to open up their phone and they want to say, hey, Siri, can you please tell me what was the margin of this account as compared to last year? Or let's say your CFO goes into a meeting or your finance head goes into a meeting with the procurement team of some other customer, and he immediately wants to see what is the price you have quoted for this service to some of your other clients. You can use that using a voice assisted service, right? So that is the speed at which things are progressing right now. Third, and very important, faster book closing and lesser time to publish results. When I became a chartered accountant about 11 years back, and I joined Wipro at that time, and I with all of the companies I saw, they are taking 15 days, 20 days after the completion of their entire financial cycle to publish their results. Today, trust me, there are companies where controllership functions are automated to such an extent, and the whole idea for there is to automate it to such an extent that the results can get published in 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days time. So that's a very important theme. Number 4, we are living in a world which is moving more and more towards compliance, right? Some of these privacy regulations which have come in terms of the GDPR. In the US, you've got lots of regulations like CCAR and BCBS and for too big to fail banks, and which are humongous compliances. Even globally, I'm sure in the entire Gulf region, and also in fact in India where I come from, you've got a lot of these increased landscape of compliance and filings. And the cost of not adhering to your compliance is very high today. It's continuously increasing. And CFOs expect that, you want to have bulletproof compliance and filings. And that's some of the areas which I am personally seeing. They are moving to bots because they feel that bots can have more reliability and at least the accuracy of the processing of that data. Next, automated and cloud integrated reporting systems, where the idea is that earlier you should not need to ask for a financial report, but this report should be sent to you in an automated manner, right? So that's a very, very big theme. Analytics and AI driven audit mechanism, and no more random sampling. Okay, so this is a huge theme. I foresee that in the next 2 to 3 years, all the listed companies, all the big companies, they will not be allowed to audit with, and rather they will not allow their auditors to audit books of accounts where they say, I'm just going to go with random sampling. Because as transactions become more complex, as the propensity of frauds increase, random sampling is going away. Today, there are audit tools, AI-driven audit tools, which can connect your books of accounts to your entire ledger scrutiny, give you a view of which are the risky accounts, which are the non-risky accounts in less than 15 to 20 minutes. And what the auditor needs to do then is to focus on the exceptions. So, and audit is going to be transformed in a very, very major way. Similarly, reporting integration with smart assistants like Alexa, Siri, people just want everything on the fly. So what this basically means is that the finance professional of the future will really have no choice but to be extremely well versed with all of the digital technologies to meet these needs. And that is where I know that you have this question in your mind that, hey, you know what? I'm a finance guy. This is technology. Here, it's not my cup of tea, right? It sounds too much technology. How will I do it? And that's a typical mind block, which we have seen with people all the time, right? Now, here, let me tell you two very interesting things, right? What has really changed with respect to the times about 10 to 15 years back and today in terms of technology. Number one, technology has become very accessible and lightweight. If some of us remember about 15 years back, the biggest trend was, somebody wanting to implement an ERP solution. That was the biggest transformation at that point of time. And if you remember in those days, we used to run around to build a server room, procure servers, migrate all the data, do training of people, spend a couple of $1 million. And that is when the whole thing used to happen. Today, some of these automation tools, in fact, I can give you some links after this meeting. You can download them. They are files as small as 30 megabytes or 40 megabytes. You can download them in 2 minutes. You can install them for free. You can start building your first automation project. That is the first big change. And everybody needs to know this, because this whole thought that technology is too complex or tough is not true. It needs to go away. The second big change is that we are moving away from very coding intensive technology to something which is known as low code or no code technologies. In fact, RPA is a world where, believe me, you don't have to write a single line of code. It is all as intuitive as drag and drop, right? So let me do something. Let me actually show you very quickly an example of what does an RPA bot look like, right? So just to recap, till now, we've looked at the way technology has grown. We specifically spoke about the areas within the world of finance, which is being disrupted by technology, and what are the needs from the industry right now. And now I just want to introduce this technology of robotics process automation to you, and the rest of the session will be catering to what this technology is, how does it work, why does it work, how can I use it, how can I get started, so on and so forth, right? So RPA as a technology simplifies and enables automation using predefined templates, pre-created templates, workflows, and rules. And it is considered as one of the easiest, quickest, and the most cost-effective technologies to automate the world of finance and accounting, right? So it is easy, it is quick, and it is cost-effective. So now let me, show you an RPA bot in action. So whatever you're going to see here, you will basically see a bot which works with multiple applications at once, right? Now, one of the biggest areas and one of the easiest areas of automation when we do automation is when we want to work with reports and MIS reports and data, right? We always download data from hundreds of different places. We work with that data. We do so much copy paste. We send those reports, so on and so forth. And it's a process which every company needs to do. And it is extremely automatable because it is very, very rule-based, right? So let me actually show you how this RPA bot works. Yeah.
In the next example, our robot will work with 7 applications at once: Excel, Word, PDF, email, SAP, terminals, and Salesforce. The Excel file contains the name, email, SAP number, and an individual code for each person. The robot will first read this data, then open the terminal, input each person's code, and get all the data from the terminal. The emails from the CSV will be input into Salesforce to find every employee, and then the expense data from the terminal will be added into the expense row. After this, the robot will create a Word document from a template with a status report for each person. The Word file will then be converted to PDF and sent as an email attachment. Finally, the robot will find the employee's position in SAP, and with all of the above data, will populate the Excel file used in the beginning. Now, let's start the robot and explain the process in more detail. The robot will start by opening the terminal, Salesforce, and SAP, and by logging into all 3 systems, preparing all the applications it will work with. It will browse the pages of the terminal and find the ID of the first employee. Then identify the same person in Salesforce based on their email address. The expenses are then added in Expense IT, the Word template filled in, converted to PDF, and sent as an email attachment. The robot then finds the position of the person in SAP, then moves on to the second person, looking for the ID in the terminal. After collecting the data, the robot sees that Salesforce does not display an account for Joan, so it creates one. After doing this, it fills the expenses on Joan's account, creates the Word document, converts it to PDF, and sends it as an email attachment. Then the robot moves on to the third person, and so on. Fast forwarding, we can see that all the data is completed in the Excel file for each person, and the emails for each person are sent with a PDF attachment.
Okay, so that was a real life example of how people are using RPA today, right? And as you saw it, I'm sure you can visualize and imagine that, hey, you know what? I know that there is some process somewhere where a lot of copy paste happens, and you can automate that. Now, this is the fun part. What if I told you that to create this entire automation, it would not take more than, let's say, 1 week's efforts? And what if I told you, if you yourself started learning today and you invested, say, 3 hours a day into it, you can start building these bots by yourself in a month's time. That is the propensity with which technology has evolved, and it has become absolutely user-friendly, right? Let me actually show you one more video. I'm going to mute the audio here because the audio is in Dutch. But here, basically, this is an example where Deloitte had a competition somewhere, I think, in Denmark or some other region, where they put up some of their best auditors with one bot, right? And the competition was in the area of invoice processing. So let me move on. Yeah. So here, what happens is they had 3 of their analysts compete against a robot, and then this is where they're doing that entire process. And what happens is that the analysts, I think, let me actually start the audio here for just a minute.
Nooit van gehoord en nu heb ik in ieder geval een idee wat het is. Tot, denk ik, mensen die echt zijn gaan nadenken over oké, waar kunnen wij het toepassen binnen onze fiscale omgeving.
Ik ben hier vandaag om het op te nemen tegen een robot en ik ben van plan om die robot eens even hard in te maken.
Hoe gaat het, mannen?
Het gaat heel goed.
Hoeveel van deze dossiers heb je al gedaan?
Ik heb nu net de 31ste factuur verstuurd.
31 facturen al. Jij?
Ja, ik heb een iets moeilijker budget of pakket gekregen, denk ik. Ik zit op 23.
Wat zien we nou eigenlijk? Wat gebeurt er op dit moment?
Er is een Excel-bestand, heeft de robot ingelezen. En al die variabelen trekt hij uit het Excel-bestand, zet hij hier in de velden. Het wordt heel snel gegenereerd en ingezet. Veel sneller dan een persoon dat zou kunnen doen.
Ja, zo snel kan niemand tikken, ja?
Wordt hier de invoice gecreëerd, PDF-bestand, slaat de robot op en hij gaat door naar de volgende rij in het Excel-bestand.
Volgens mij hadden de 3 werkstudenten gezamenlijk 129 facturen gemaakt in een klein uur tijd. En de robot had er 192 in zijn eentje.
So you just saw an example where, again, some simple themes like these, it's very easy to automate. 3 of their best guys did about 127 invoices in an hour. And a single robot did about 192 of these in that same time alone, right? And think about it like this. There are so many processes which need to happen in the background, in the backdrop. And a bot is a software, so it works 24/7. It's actually not even comparable to the efforts of how you would do it as a human, right? So let me just go a little bit deeper into it. And this point onwards, guys, I invite you to start giving me your questions in the chat window or in the Q&As, because as we'll start getting a little bit more inside the technology, there might be some areas which you might have some questions with. You might have some questions with things like, hey, you know what, I have this process. Do you think I can do RPA there? Please bring out your curiosity and, put those questions in. It will benefit the entire community, right? Okay, so what is RPA, right? Just as industrial robots have completely transformed the manufacturing industry, right? Which are your physical bots with your mechanical arms and all of those things. They have completely transformed the way manufacturing works. The same thing is happening today where these bots are actually automating whatever knowledge workers do, right? So RPA lets organizations automate tasks as if a real person was doing it. Now, this is the key, right? The way RPA works, the easiest way to imagine it is if you have a team of people who are doing something manually, you can always have an RPA bot who can mimic exactly what the human user does, right? So the RPA bot actually has a login ID. It's a digital worker. Today, I even work with companies where they are trying to find a harmonized way of working with a combination of digital workers and human workers, because change management is a very big problematic area here, right? So an RPA bot is like a digital worker who has a login ID in all the systems, just like the example which we saw there. And it does not require any complex integration with systems. This is extremely, extremely important point, guys. Let me explain this a little bit more. See, earlier, whenever you wanted to automate something, it used to be a huge security concern because different softwares had these functionalities called APIs, using which you have to take their API keys and integrate accordingly. And that's a security concern, because if the software is not functioning properly, exposing API keys is not a very viable thing to do all the time. What RPA does is that it just operates like a human user would, right? So it does not depend on the end system to give you some API keys. It does not depend whether your end system is ready for RPA or not, right? It can work with any application, anything on Windows, anything on Linux, anything on your web. It can do all of those different things, right? So let me debunk some typical myths about RPA. First of all, these are virtual bots. They are not physical robots. This has got nothing to do with robotics. Robotics is the entire area of physical robots and all of those things. This has got nothing to do with that. Second, people sometimes feel that, RPA should be suitable only for high volume operations. Something where I have only low volume, it is not suitable. That is not the truth, right? The way RPA works is that if you have one RPA license, you can use one license across hundreds of processes. right? So even if you have small processes, you can always use RPA for that. That's one. Second, I have done some work with some banks in the US and some other regions where the cost of failing a compliance is so high, they want the entire computation, data extraction, analysis, and reporting to be done by bots. Because the ROI comes from the cost of paying penalties in case something goes wrong. Third very important point, and I think I also mentioned this earlier, is that RPA is actually not a large IT systems integration project. It can be very small. You can download a file which is 35, 40 MBs, install it and start with it. You don't have to build servers, get cloud space, build integrators, build connectors. No, all of those things are still required in very elaborate enterprise implementations, but not for the simpler ones. Next, there's a very big myth that RPA is going to take away our jobs. It will replace all the jobs and it will replace humans and all of that. Now, let me be honest with you, right? In this whole thing. Remember the example I gave in the beginning that once you invented the printing press, will you go and write books by hand? The answer is no. Once you invent electricity, will you light up candles to light up your house? The answer is no. Similarly, if you have such tremendous, beautiful technology today, where you can automate all of your reporting, copy paste, compliance, etc., guys, it's a matter of time before which everybody will implement it. In fact, today I am seeing these trends where some of these major ERPs, SAP, Oracle, and all of these people, Salesforce, they are creating versions with inbuilt bots where all of the reporting automation will be anyways automated, right? I'm looking at accounting systems which have an inbuilt audit module, which does a continuous audit, automated ledger scrutiny and all of those things. It's a matter of time before which, things will get automated. However, so yes, jobs will be lost. Jobs are being lost. I'll be very honest about it. You get these articles in newspaper every day, some of these big IT companies are laying off 30,000 people, 40,000 people, so on and so forth. And that's a very natural thing because data entry jobs, call center jobs, all of these things are going away. However, the number of jobs which are getting created are far more than the number of jobs which are being lost. And I tell you this because, my firm, Mindmap Consulting, we do staffing for all of these IT companies. And the kind of requirements they have in this space, and forget about IT, right? The demand for finance professionals who understand RPA and who can help companies in designing their RPA workflows, it is through the roof. It is absolutely through the roof, right? And the whole idea is that it increases the possibilities of performing value-added work. Past President CA Uttam sir, he very rightly mentioned a point that the job of CAs is not that just do some manual transaction work and all that. We are advisors, and this technology is really giving us the right to reclaim our power. It is up to each one of us to actually sit on the throne, automate our processes and reclaim our power. Now think of it like this, right? Suppose you're leading a finance function in a big company or you're a CA firm, you may be a 20-member CA firm. There is always a problem when you try to grow because there is too much dependence on yourself, whether you're heading a function or your own firm, right? You feel, array, everything I have to do, my people are not whatever, right? That problem always exists. That problem is going away. And I'm looking at CA firms who are based out of India, who have started catering to clients in Australia, US, and some of the European regions, where they are just advising them in terms of how to automate their processes. And most importantly, again, from our finance perspective, it is not a very expensive technology. And the whole technology works on the premise that I am going to save efforts, right? The whole premise is I will automate work to save effort. So it pays for itself. Typical RPA implementations have at least a 60% return on investment, right? And that's the reason why some of these things work very, very quickly. So some typical benefits of implementing RPA is, one, it reduces human efforts by anywhere between 20% to 50%. Second, it is faster by at least more than 2 times. Now, the example video which we saw earlier, there, if a human user had to navigate through those 4 applications, copy data, and do all of those things, he or she would easily take about 2 to 3 minutes per transaction. The bot actually did every transaction in about 12 seconds. So it's, at least 2 times, but I've seen cases where it can be 10 or 15 times also. It is non-intrusive, which means it's not a big IT systems integration project. It is cheaper than most other technologies. It is accurate. It reduces your operating expenses by at least 20%. You get your return on investment very, very quickly, right? Now, this is a very interesting area of selecting which processes should you automate, right? So now that you know what RPA is, you have seen examples, you believe that it is powerful. A lot of companies, a lot of people actually make a big mistake in mis-selecting the process which should be automated, right? And there's a big science behind which processes should you pick. And I just want to talk about this. But I have one question right now from CA Digant Pandya. Please elaborate more on some of RPA in internal audit or softwares, right? So Digant, basically in internal audit, if you look at the various audit functions, the first function is your ledger scrutiny. What RPA can do is, imagine the very first thing you do is that you first extract data from all of your accounting tools. It could be Tally, Oracle, SAP, whatever. Then you reformat that data into a standard structure, which you can start analyzing. Third, you analyze it basis rules. Fourth, basis your analysis, you categorize transactions into risky, non-risky, so on and so forth. This entire thing can be 100% automated. That's one. Second, even once you've created your working papers, you want to start drafting your report, you can have an assisted report drafting technology where that report drafting can also happen quickly. And what I will also do, Digant, is that I've written a complete paper on this in terms of what are the areas within audit which can be automated. And I will share a link of that paper with everyone. It's a very detailed paper. It segregates audit functions across various categories and gives you a view of which areas can be audited. Thank you so much for your question. Great. So again, coming back to the area of what processes should I automate? Number one, if your process is highly manual and repetitive, which basically means that, remember one of the themes which we spoke about, which CFOs are trying to work on, more than 90% automation of transactional finance and accounting. This relates to that process. You have to process invoices every day. A typical large company processes about 100,000 invoices in a year. Every day you have to process an invoice. Every month you have to do reconciliation, right? Every fortnight you have to publish your MIS report. So all of these things which are highly manual and repetitive, go for them. Second, pick processes which are as rule-based as possible. The more rule-based processes are, the easier it becomes for you to automate them. Now, there is again a myth that RPA can be done only for processes which are very transactional and rule-based. That is actually not true today. It was true 3 years, 4 years back when RPA was launched. Today, there is a lot of decision-making in RPA tools. There's a lot of artificial intelligence in RPA tools. In fact, I'm going to give you an example of that also today as we go ahead. But that being said, since you're starting out, pick processes which are extremely rule-based. Third, pick processes with a low exception rate, right? So where you will have lesser transactions which will deviate from the standard rule, right? Number 4, see, one of the biggest areas when you do RPA in the world of finance and accounting is that inevitably you will be dealing with documents. For example, you might want an RPA bot to read a lease contract and extract the salient features, right? You might want an RPA bot to go through SOWs and contracts to understand how is revenue supposed to be recognized as per your accounting standards. You might want an RPA bot to read hundreds and thousands of invoices and extract data from them, right? Or somebody has submitted a KYC form. You might want to scan that KYC form, get all the data and all those things. Wherever you are working with documents, make sure that those documents are at least 350 DPI, which is the resolution of scanning, 350 DPI or more. And wherever you have a standard readable electronic input type, which means it's a computer generated PDF, it is very good. RPA has historically been not very successful with handwritten documents, right? But today, just a couple of days back, I was having conversation with this AI-based company which has achieved 98% accuracy in handwritten documents also, right? Next, obviously, cases where there are high volumes, you should go with those areas because you will have maximum ROI. Now, cases where your system is going to change, for example, currently you're using Tally and tomorrow you will move into SAP. Don't evaluate automating that because you will have to automate that again. There's no point. So cases where your system might change, don't work with them. Pick up processes which have lots of full-time employees so that you can justify a good business case on that. And again, pick up processes which are mature and stable. You know, sometimes when you have new processes, let's say you've set up a new warehouse, right? And in the new warehouse right now, you're just setting up the whole process of how you will receive, how you will store and all those things. Typically, RPA should be implemented where the processes are stable and mature, right? And once they are stable and mature, you can basically go ahead and do that. Now, after you have understood, which processes should I automate, your next question would be, okay, now you've shown me what RPA is. I understand it has value. I also understand how to pick what process. Your next question is, how do I get started? What tools should I use? What should be my next steps, right? So I want to first talk a little bit about tools. Guys, there are many RPA tools in the market. You know, it's a flood right now. And just so that you know this, RPA companies, one of the RPA companies, which is this one, UiPath, it has been historically for the second consecutive year, the highest ever year-on-year growth for any technology company in the world in the history of technology. You know, that's the rate at which some of these technologies are going. UiPath, they just did their IPO and they are valued at 68 times of their revenue, right? And there are 3 or 4 best RPA tools which are there as per the analyst rankings: UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. These 3 tools are one of the best and the easiest tools to work with. If you are starting out, I would recommend you start out with this tool called UiPath for 2 reasons. Number 1, they have a free version available. They have a free community edition, which you can download free of cost. You can create some simple bots with them. No licensing fees will be associated there. Number 2, they actually have a free online learning academy. You can go there and you can start learning some of those concepts from there. Apart from this, there are many other RPA tools which are there. In terms of what differentiates the various RPA tools from each other, you know, for some of the top RPA tools, honestly, there's not much of a differentiation. The pricing, of course, differentiates from region to region, and it's very complex. There are many types of bots and all of that. Apart from what you see in this list, Microsoft has also recently acquired a company and converted that into its own RPA solution, which they are calling the Microsoft Power Automate, right? And it is giving free licenses to anybody who has an Office 365 subscription, right? So please take use of that. It is also a very good tool for automating your reporting, email automation, Excel-based automation. It's also very, very good. But yeah, maybe Microsoft Power Automate or UiPath, you can start with one of them. They have good learning library, etc. earlier, right? Now, how do you basically plan out the entire, what are the steps to achieving your RPA goal? The very first thing is to identify and just think, what is the broad area within which I can think of doing automation? And my recommendation to you is that broad area should be your area of practice. If you are heading FP&A, if you are working in controllership, take some functions from there. If you're having your tax function, find out what you're doing within tax. Create, just list down everything that, you know, I'm doing maybe tax compliance, tax advisory, GST, you know, reconciliation, so on and so forth. Just list all of those things down. Then every single process has to be evaluated. Evaluated how? Something like this. Put every process through these questions and give them some scores. And after you do the evaluation, you have to map out your processes just like that process works today, right? So today, if you have one of your staff which is doing that process, find out what is the starting point and map it at a keystroke level. Where does he click? What does he type? What does he read from a document? Create a whole flow like this. Once you've created a flow, then you can start imagining, okay, which parts of this flow can be automated? And then you create this whole blueprint. Once you create this blueprint, You give it to an RPA developer. There are many RPA developers available. You will find very good freelancers also if you want. They will create this implementation for you and then you roll it out, right? That's the whole way in which you plan out an RPA deployment, right? And let me see if I have some questions. Okay, CA Ravi, you have a question. How can we learn in Power Automate? We have Office 365. So Ravi, you know, there are some courses which are available on Microsoft website. If you can search for Microsoft Power Automate courses, they have some free courses available. There are also a couple of courses which are available very inexpensively on Udemy. You can work with that. And even on LinkedIn Learning, you have some courses available. And yeah, and then just try playing around with it a little bit. You will be able to work with them, right? Now I want to talk specifically, you know, moving from generic to specific. Generic, we saw which are the processes you should automate. Now I want to give you specifics of, you know, because see, I do a lot of work with finance functions and companies in automating their finance areas. And based on that, we've built out something which is known as a heat map. What we've done is we've split the entire finance functions into two parts. There is transactional finance and accounting, and there are some specialist corporate finance roles, right? So transactional finance and accounting will comprise of all of these functions like procure to pay, order to cash, record to report, and specialist corporate finance will have things like FP&A, treasury, taxation, legal, audit, so on and so forth. And within each one of these, and of course, you know, I'll be sharing a copy of this presentation with everyone for your reference. So you can, you know, have it handy at a later point of time. But for every process, you will see boxes appear on your screen, which are color coded, right? Whatever you see in green, those are cases which in my experience, I have seen are pieces which are very high automation potential. You can automate them easily. And if you automate them, you will get a very good business case and a very good ROI. Whatever you see in a dark blue, they are medium automation potential. Whatever you see in a light blue, they are low automation potential. And whatever is red is a very, very low automation potential, right? So for example, in procure to pay, these are all the steps. First, you receive an invoice, then you scan and index an invoice, then you process the invoice, then you have the invoice approval, so on and so forth, right? Of course, approval, anything you don't want to automate. You want to maintain that little bit of control with you. And Mr. Yasser also said that that's how they're also doing in their organization, where the approvals is happening wherever you want, but you can define who approves it. But things like processing an invoice typically is very manual, very intensive. It can be automated. Similarly, in order to cash, the whole process of invoice management can be very highly automated. Order management, even the process of issuing purchase orders, creating purchase requisitions, comparing quotes between various vendors who have responded to an RFP, and anything which is to do with the help desk, right? I mean, I'm sure you would have seen everybody has a chatbot today. All the banks and everybody has a chatbot. What if I told you, you could build a chatbot for your firm in less than 2 weeks? It's not difficult. See, the problem is that you'll have to start thinking that if everybody has this today, it cannot be very tough or expensive. If it was very tough or expensive, everybody would not have that, right? I am working with CA firms who are saying that, you know what, I don't want my client to talk to me. I want my client to talk to a WhatsApp-based bot first. And it can ask the bot, has my returns been filed? Has my reports been processed? And the bot can check in the backend and give answers. So that is where people are moving. So again, contextualizing it back to procure to pay and order to cash, all of these help desk-based pieces are very automatable. Record to report, which is your entire era of accounting. Anything in the field of general accounting, intercompany reconciliations, the whole closing and reporting lifecycle, verifying transactions, sending them to various departments, doing all the reconciliations, all the checks, reporting management, MIS reports, extremely automatable. Within FP&A, anything to do with MIS reporting is very, very automatable. Within treasury, again, you don't want to automate cash and risk management, but as Mr. Yasser also said, some of the bank accounts management can be very highly automated. Within taxation and legal, anything which is to do with filing, I was recently working with one of the companies where we built a completely automated GST reconciliation bot for them. What it does is that it downloads the GST records from the Traces website. It pulls in data from the ERP, does a reconciliation, finds the results. It also sends out all emails to all the vendors who have not correctly updated their details, right? So that's a very big area. A lot of people are doing work there. And again, as I said in audit, things like data collection, vouching and verification, and this red box is very close to my heart. Issuing opinions, my dear friends, will never get automated. And I feel that is where all of us need to play a role, and we need to be more advisors than anything else. Guys, trust me, if you look at the CA curriculum, when we started the whole CA profession, there was no IT or anything like that in that, right? And then there was IT. Now there are, I think, 2 or 3 different types of sessions of IT, which happens as part of GMCS and IT training and all of that. I'm telling you, the way this is moving, you will have, how do you audit? For example, think of it, right? If every company is implementing these automated solutions in RPA, then you will also need to understand that tomorrow, how can you audit in that environment? How do you audit books of accounts which are created by bots? As an auditor, how can you be confident that they have not done some fraud there? So you will have to audit bot logs. You have to audit this design documents, which are known as the process design documents and solution design documents, right? Secondly, for you as an auditor, your client will tell you, random sampling will not work for me. I want the audit to be done in 5 days, because you will have these firms who will do it for you. You will have firms who will start using these tools and who will say, Acha, I don't want to give you any article assistant. I will just put a software to do most of these things, right? So this is how some of these, areas are changing. And I will request you and urge you to leverage this heat map. And again, whatever you see here with a star, these are all the cases which I have seen most of the people coming to me with a request for, that please automate these areas like invoice processing, closing and reporting, MIS. And I just want to give you these ideas so that tomorrow, if you want to start out, you have a place where you can start out from, right? Now, what I want to do is I want to show you a demo for an end-to-end invoice processing automation, where the end ERP was this ERP called Oracle EBS. And here what you will see is, this is known as touchless AP. And this is actually one of the implementations we did for one of our US customers, one of the largest telecom companies in the world. Their problem was very simple. They were spending a lot of money for processing invoices. They had a very large AP team. We built a system for them where the moment an invoice comes in a mailbox, so this here, for example, this is Gmail, but obviously in the real life, it would be the company enterprise mailbox. The moment an invoice comes in the mailbox, the system will automatically download it instantly. So there is no wait time where somebody has to log in and see while drinking coffee, acha, some invoice has come, let me see what to do with it. It instantly downloads those documents. It segregates invoices from non-invoices, and then it opens up an invoice. It extracts all of the data from the invoice. It puts that into an Excel file. You have a repository of all of these Excel files for Audit Trail. Once it has put it in the Excel file, because why it needs to put it on Excel file and why not directly into the ERP is because, different invoices may have different formats. As many vendors will be there, they will be sending their own formats. So it harmonizes those different invoices into a single format. It takes all of those invoices, puts them into a single format, and then after it has put everything into an Excel-based CSV file, it then takes that and it navigates through the screens of the ERP. And in the screens of the ERP, it goes to the relevant section where the data entry has to be made. And it makes the entry and records it in the books of accounts, right? So I'll just play this video. So here right now, you see there are 4 PDF documents. And we will go ahead and trigger the bot. So what the bot will do is it will start the process, and it's built in UiPath as the software to do it. Now, when you trigger it, this is all real time. The video is all real time. It will show you a pop-up message once the invoices have been read. It will take maybe 5 or 6 seconds. And after that, it will get data from all of them. There, you see this pop-up. It found 1 email, found 4 PDF, all 4 were valid. And then what it will do is it will then start storing all of these files in folders, right? So you will see there are these various folders. Email download PDF is empty because the email, so once it downloads some files, it will put them in this folder. Then once the invoices are found valid, it extracts data from them. It moves those files from this folder to this folder. And in case it fails somewhere, it puts it in the failed folder, again, for your audit trail purposes. And then after that, it extracts data from those documents, put it into an Excel file. It puts that Excel in the Excel pending folder. Once the Excel is uploaded in the ERP, it puts it in the Excel process folder. So this becomes like a dashboard for you, right? You get complete visibility of how many emails have come, what has happened, so on and so forth, right? So right now, you have all of these emails in this email extracted folder because it was able to extract all of those data. And if you will open up one of those invoices, you see it is a standard invoice with date, invoice number, PO number, name of the party, bill to, ship to entity, line items, unit price, tax, etc., all of these things. Now, what the bot will do is that it will extract all of these different details into a master Excel template. So now we will open up one of those Excel files. There are 4 Excel files here because 4 invoices were processed. And if you see the Excel file, it has all of these details: serial number, vendor name, currency, invoice amount, GL date. You will see there are some empty fields here. These empty fields can exist because, again, you need a master format. Different vendors can have different fields also. So whatever fields it will find, it will put here, right? And once these fields are put here, you can also basically just, see a side-by-side comparison. Whatever you see here, it will appear here. So this is the first process of data extraction. After data is extracted, next you need to go and put it in the ERP system. And as it does that, again, from a control perspective, since a bot is doing this transaction, it is asking you to give a batch name so that you can filter out and find out how the transaction was done. Once it is done, you will see very quickly, it will open up the browser. It will log in like a user. It already gave the login ID password. It's moving forward very quickly. We can't even see the steps with which it is moving. It navigates through all the screens. And let me fast forward this a little bit. Yeah, it navigates the screens and it comes to this particular place where, this is where in Oracle ERP you enter. Now it starts the entry screen. Now it will automatically enter all the data one by one. So this is for the first invoice. It gives the batch name. It opens up the entry screen and it is entering the header level information, the main information. You see, it automatically enters all of that. Once it finishes entering the header level information, then what it will do is it will even enter the line level information. And here, since it has a purchase order associated with it, it will also do a 3-way match with the purchase order. It will open up the purchase order in the system and check if the quantity is within the limits or not. If you see here, this is the PO screen. It opens up the PO screen and it does a complete match there. And then, it moves on to the next line item. And once it has done the next line item, it triggers an approval. Once it triggers an approval, it will go to an approver as an email that a new invoice has come. The information is there, please see and approve, right? And then after that, you click on this create accounting entry. It will also create the accounting entry. So this entire process happens in the background. There will always be some cases where the system will not be able to deal with those invoices. They are put into a queue. And over a period of time, leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning, that queue becomes shorter and shorter and shorter, right? And you basically end up refining that process even further. So I just wanted to give you a real life example, and invoice processing is one area where it is extremely automatable and a lot of people are doing this work. So now it will just keep repeating. So, no point going through that. So for example, typical business case for this customer, they saved about $1.5 million over a period of 3 years by automating this particular process, right? Now, this is another example of a slightly larger heat map, right? I'm just going one level deeper at a time, at a pace at which all of us can consume. We saw a heat map earlier where it was broken down into transactional finance and accounting and specialized finance roles. Now, this is a much bigger heat map where you have one more level of stratification. And again, it gives you a combination of your RPA potential, which is given in terms of shades, And then again, you have this entire concept of attended bots, right? Let me, maybe take 2 minutes to talk about what is the meaning of this attended bot. And then there are two types of bots, right? There are attended bots and there are unattended bots. Now, attended bots are those bots where it needs to work together with a human. So it can do part of the processing itself. And then for some part of the process, it needs to work with a human. So, it will do some amount of work and then it will ask you to assist it on a certain step. Whereas an unattended bot is a bot that runs completely in the background, right? It is something where you do not need to give it any inputs. For example, that accounts payable example I gave, it can run completely in the background right from the moment an email comes in. So there can be a combination of an attended bot or an unattended bot. So what I want to do now is, I will spend maybe another 5 or 7 minutes with the presentation, after which I want to open this up for questions and answers and discussions, because, that's a big interest area for me to see what questions you have. And before wrapping up, I just want to give you my perspective on how I see the entire function of finance basically evolving. And if we were to compare the finance of yesterday with the finance of tomorrow, right? And I know that there are two types of people who would be there in the audience today. We would either have you who is a part of a professional services firm and you're offering finance services and finance consulting, or we will have people who are here from a corporate finance kind of a role. And if we were to compare the finance of yesterday with the finance of tomorrow, earlier where you used to have your typical tax filing services, where you used to say that, hey, what, I will do my tax filing for you. Tomorrow you will have tax, and let's not say finance of tomorrow, this is more like finance of today. Today you will have tax filing automation. Imagine the scale of operations you can achieve if you can automate some of your backend tasks. Imagine the cost reduction in your services you can achieve if you can automate your backend tasks, right? Second, earlier where you used to have your traditional audit and assurance, with the changing landscape, today you will have artificial intelligence and RPA driven audit. And this is an area where the maturity is still not very high, but within the next 1 year, you will see there already are a couple of very good AI-based audit tools in the market, but they have their own drawbacks. Within the next year and a half, you will see this marketplace maturing significantly. Earlier, where you used to have your push-based MIS and reporting, where you used to feed people with data and tell them, please read this report and all those things, it's going to change. And today you will have analytics and visualization on cloud, where the whole idea is to log into a certain portal, get data on demand, get reports on demand. Earlier, where you used to have traditional transaction advisory, today transaction advisory is completely changing. You have these advanced models where you can predict and find out using decision impact forecasting and decision trees to understand where would a potential acquisition or where would a potential merger take you over a period of time. And there are these specialized AI-based models which can predict based on their inputs of economic indicators and things like that across various streams. Earlier, where you used to have engagement on demand, where your clients used to call you and say that, hey, can you please do this piece of work for me? Today, I'm working with so many firms who use digital marketing, who use data-driven demand generation. There are companies who look at some of the events in the industry and they call up telecom companies and say that, hey, you know what, this is going to happen tomorrow. You might need this kind of a service. Or if somebody is managing the ERP of someone, they monitor the kind of transactions in that ERP. They notice that there are lots of transactions of a certain type. And they, you can proactively call and tell them that, hey, you know what, you might need help with this or something like that. It's a very, very big theme, right? Similarly, when it comes to corporate finance, there's a big shift where, the role of finance has blown up significantly, right? Where finance earlier was a support function where, if you have some piece of invoicing to be done, go to finance, or if you need some margins to be approved, go to finance. Today, the way I'm seeing with most organizations is, finance is as integrated with business as sales or as some of the other important functions. Earlier, where finance used to respond to business needs, today finance forecasts the key business outcomes, right? It's not just about responding to what the business says, but today it's more about finance who advises business to go in a certain geography, go in a certain area, so on and so forth. Your manual push-based reporting is going to change completely to cloud-based automated reporting. Manual controllership functions are going away. I'm seeing so many examples where you have RPA-driven controllership and you have a combination of human workers and bot workers. Traditional internal audit is going to be a thing of the past, and there are these new tools with concurrent audit where you will have AI and RPA-driven internal audit. Your descriptive reporting is going to be replaced by something which is known as predictive analytics. All of us have always done so much work with respect to just describing what's there, right? But that's a thing of the past. Now we are in the era of predictive analytics, diagnostic analytics, prescriptive analytics, right? And influencing analytics. You can use analytics to even influence outcomes of what people can do tomorrow. And that's an entire big area in itself. I have one question from Sarita Shinde in terms of what are the risks in using bots. And let me address this question now. So Sarita, there are 3 or 4 risks in using bots. And I will talk about this from a life cycle perspective, right? The very first stage is when you identify which process you want to automate. So always make sure that you pick a process which does not change tomorrow. In those cases, the bots may fail. Second, don't pick up your critical business functions at the very beginning, because let's say that in case you're picking up critical business functions, then what may happen is, as Mr. Yasser also said, sometimes if there's a small bug, the whole system stops working and you're in a big mess. Third, sometimes there may be system outages. And then to counter them, you have this entire thing called high availability and disaster recovery planning, which can be done. The fourth problem could be, somebody might maliciously build a piece of code and which may be doing something wrong. So please get your bots audited by people at various points of time. See, broadly, there are many RP initiatives which end up failing because they're not designed in the right way. If you do the design in the right way, and guys, that is where is the requirement of people like us to do that. A finance bot cannot be created by an IT person. I have seen hundreds of scenarios where IT people have tried creating bots to do accounting and reconciliation, and they have failed because they may look at the process today, but they can't foresee the future impact of changes which are planned in the regulatory landscape or in the business landscape, or they can't look at exceptions. So to design it right is very important. To select the right tool is important. To create your business case is important. Make sure you don't, end up over investing in some place which is the non-relevant place. We have another question from Shivangi. How does RPA work in advertisement and promotion segments in finance, where there are highly manual interferences? So, I'll give you 2 answers to that, Shivangi. One is an answer which will enable you to answer this yourself. And that answer goes like this. Just think of those activities which an end business user does manually. It could be analyzing your competitors' brands, right? Market research is a very big part in advertisement and promotions, where you have to go through various websites, look at customer sentiments, download data, work with those data. So anything with working with data, analyzing that data, creating reports can get automated. In fact, today we also have scenarios where creating some of the creatives as part of the automation. There is this website called AI Writer. You can go and check that out. And there are many more examples of AI writers. When you give it certain topics, it creates an entire essay for you, right? So I don't know how this will impact our children and what they will do in their school essay competitions. And please don't give this idea out to them. But yeah, these are some of the ways, Shivangi, in which some of these technologies are being used.
One more question is there in the question association, sir.
Sure, I'll just take a look at that. So we've got question from Gopi. Is there any specific course to start with for learning RPA and AI for CA professional? Okay, so Gopi, please go to ICAI's Digital Learning Hub. There are courses there on RPA and AI, and I am the one who have created those courses for ICAI. That's a very, very good place to start. You will get a very good overview of how this entire thing works. And second, remember I mentioned that you can also look at some of these academies which are created by Microsoft and UiPath. So Microsoft Power Automate Learning and then UiPath Academy Learning. Look at some of those. So 3 steps for you, right? First step is actually not what I said. First step is for you to think of an idea where you can automate. Think which is that area which you want to automate. Once you have that defined in your mind, then you go to ICAI Digital Learning Hub, take a short e-learning course on these things. It will fertile that idea in your mind and it will tell you that, okay, how can I do it? Third, learn one of these RPA tools, one of these simple RPA tools, and then start doing it yourself. And then, I'm always there around with you. I'll leave you guys with my credentials and LinkedIn and all of that. If you need any help, I can always come back to you. So I just want to say that, you need to remember that RPA is dominated by process and technology is just an enabler. It's a massive opportunities for CAs to transform finance. Guys, I really can't tell you the kind of market demand that exists right now, where people are actively looking for professionals who understand both the sides of the coin, the technology as well as the domain. Because RPA is not like an IT technology. See, the way the technology is created, it gives power in the hand of business users. People like you and me are supposed to work with this technology and create outcomes there. So it's important that we realize this and we don't think that this is something which is always for IT to basically do. I'll paste these links in the chat window also. Somebody also asked for these. I've created reports specifically within our field. So how do you automate taxation? How do you automate internal controls? I've also published some material with ICAI on the ABCD of accounting. And then again, with the audit space, I'll put some of these links in the chat window. And this is my LinkedIn address. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I also keep publishing a lot of regular updates there. I've recently also been invited by Forbes to join the Forbes Business Council, which is a very exclusive group of people for digital transformation advisory. So I keep sharing my Forbes articles also there. And then you also have my email address for anything which you guys want to reach out. We have one more comment from Rahul who says, please drop in the PPT on the registered email ID. Yeah, so I'll request for the PPT to be sent across. And I think we've got one more question. Somebody has raised their hands. I'm sorry, I can't see your name. If there are any more questions, guys, please feel free. And thank you so much for having me and listening out patiently. I hope this session was of some value.
Thank you so much, CA Saurabh. This was one of the most engrossing sessions that we've had. We've had a great attendance and the attendance has been growing. I didn't see anyone leave the meeting. So we were all listening with the ears, eyes open. I can see Mr. Yasser is still here. So that is, again, we are very honored, sir, that you stayed with us throughout. Like I said, Saurabh, I'm guessing you'll be getting a lot of LinkedIn requests. The ICAI Digital Learning Hub is actually a great medium and platform, and I'm glad that you are there on it. I will be going through your course after listening to today's presentation. So it got us to thinking a lot of things. We are all thinking, what can we automate? Thank you so much for today's session. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to present you with an e-certificate. So may I request CA Digan Pandya to please do the honors?
Yeah, Shilpa ji, will you please, yeah. Dear CS Saurabh Goenka, thank you so much for taking out time, and on behalf of Muscat chapter of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and on behalf of all the members, I am very happy to present this certificate, small token of appreciation for your today's session. It was personally telling you, it was very rewarding, and I'll start learning RPA from today. I already sent you a LinkedIn connection, and thank you so much for joining us, and please accept this. Over to you, Shilpa ji.
Thank you so much, CA Digan. Now may I, sorry, is there anyone saying?
Okay. Shilpa ji, before vote of thanks, Saurabh ji, can we have you as on a 2-3 days training session with us, because I really like it. Then the 1 hour we cannot learn RPA. So can we have 2-3 days session with you? Can we discuss this particular thing with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. It will be my honor and privilege to be of any help to you, sir.
Yeah, so we want you to prepare some sort of like 2-3 days study program for us, and then we'll circulate it in our teams, and we'll get you the students for that particular. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Mr. Yasser, would you like to add on? Would you like to say something?
Thank you. Thank you for this chance. It was a really nice and excellent session. And the presentation was smooth and very explained, and giving examples how to implement what focus, which process. And during the session, actually, when Mr. Saurabh, when you were talking about the automation of chat or like inquiry for customers, it's coming to my mind those some complaint about the customer, because it's very sensitive when you do the automation in regard to those process linked to the customers. So how we can overcome? Sometimes the customer are complaining because this like answering machine are answering me, not a human being which can accommodate my inquiry. Sometimes they have inquiry, but some organization maybe they have developed more options, like even it's by email or by phone, whatever it is, or by chat. So how we can overcome those complaints? What option we can add maybe there?
Thank you, Mr. Yasser, for your kind words and for that question. Typically, Mr. Yasser, there are 2 or 3 different things which can be done. First, we need to implement this technology, which is called sentiment analytics. Now, whenever, let's say that we have already implemented some voice-based solution, and there can always be 2 ways about it. Either our implementation is successful, which means enough number of customer requests are being catered by that system itself, and then there are no complaints. But if there are complaints, it means the system is not successful. So what we can do is, there is today this AI-based technology called sentiment analytics. What it will do is, it will listen to every call in the background and give it a score in terms of, was it a happy customer, was it a sad customer, so on and so forth. And by analyzing that data, we can understand which are those areas which the customers don't actually understand or they don't like. What made them a little irritated or angry or sad. That is number 1. Second, when we are building this system, Mr. Yasser, we need to be very sensitive towards the customer. A process where we should interview the customer and get a lot of data from them to ask them that, would you like a solution like this? And why will it help you? There needs to be a very customer-centric approach which needs to be followed while designing this whole process. And it always needs to be a combination of automated voice messages and a human touch. So let's say when the conversation is on, we can identify if somebody is getting angry. That conversation should automatically, immediately be given to a human agent. and sentiment analytics can actually help in that. The sentiment analytics, Mr. Yasser, was actually invented for this use case only.
Thank you for the clarification. Thank you very much, Mr. Saurabh.
Thank you, Mr. Yasser.
Very beautifully explained, Mr. Saurabh. I went through this experience where at one point I thought I'm going to give up on the bot. And then the bot said to me that, would you like to speak to a real live agent? And when that happened, it really helped the situation. So like you said, it's that combination is required to not let your customer go or be angry.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to end the session, but we have to end the session. So we would end it with a vote of thanks. I would request CA Jim Joseph Itty to please present the vote of thanks for today.
Thank you, Shilpaji. I hope all enjoyed the event. It was an excellent event, and it's the time to say thanks to all. First of all, to our chief guest, Mr. Yasser Al-Kalbani, who spent his Saturday morning with us and continued throughout the session. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. We are looking forward for your continued support. And CA Uttam Prakash Agarwal, our past president, he blessed us with his presence and good words. Thanks to him. And a special thanks to Saurabh Goenka, CA Saurabh Goenka, for enlightening us on different topics related to robotics. I'm sure it shaken the mentality of the chartered accountants who all joined today's event. Thank you very much, sir. And thanks to our local sponsor, CBFS. Our annual sponsor is Tally. Thanks to all our sponsors and corporate members. And thanks to all those who joined us today in this event. Special thanks to Shilpaji for being the host and all our fellow MC members for the support. Thank you very much to all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, CA Jim. Before we formally end today's meeting, I just have a small reminder and announcement to make to all our CA members in Oman. The CA chapter in Muscat is looking for to find out if there is interest in holding the online exam for the the advanced internet exam, which all the CA final students have to pass. So if we can have Muscat as an exam center if we have enough interest. So please spread the word. If there are interested candidates, Muscat would definitely like to be one of the examination centers. So thank you once again. Anybody else has anything to say? Please.
So Uttamji is still there. So if we can have final words from Uttamji if available. Uttamji, are you there, sir? Uttamji.
Okay. I think he's not there, so we can move on.
Okay, no issues, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
And we will be sharing the presentation soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Saurabhji.
Just before Saurabhji leaves, I would say a special thanks to him because I think I have connected with him since July, right? It's been a long time that he has been waiting for the session where it was scheduled in September. Thank you so much. It went on very successful as expected.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta ji, and thanks for considering me for this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yasser. Thank you, Mr. Yasser. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Yasser, and we are all coming to have a coffee with you.
Yeah, please, 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 welcome. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
So much.